So I get the pleasure to introduce our speaker. And rather than, I talked to Mark a little earlier, and rather than read his professional bio, we decided to do something a little different. And so Mark Noon is our speaker, and he is here from the Studer Group. And I know that he's quickly putting on his jersey, so I'll talk a little slower. And he is born up in Michigan. He currently resides in Florida, which we'd all love to be in Florida right now because it's probably much warmer there than it is right now. And I learned that we share something in common this year. We both, or last year, we both turned 50. And we think 50 is the new 40. Can it be the new 30? It could be the new 30. And I am 2 days older than you. So we share a close birthday week, which is a week before Christmas, which is always really fun. And his wife threw him an amazing surprise party. And my husband baked me the greatest birthday cake of the world. So we really had great birthdays. He has 4 children, and 2 boys, 2 girls. And he's so excited to be here with us today. I'm going to let him tell you about all of his professional things on his bio. So welcome today, Mark Noon, our speaker.
Do we have a lapel mic or just the handle? Yeah. We'll switch to the lapel here in just a second. So, good morning. It's a pleasure to be in 1 degree. I do have the right jersey for it since Green Bay was like 10 below 0 this last week, I think. So I almost kind of wish we had a home game this last week because we love playing in the cold. But I left. It was only like 29 yesterday at my house in Florida, so don't think it's all that warm. All right, just because it's Florida. I live in Panhandle of Florida, so it's not exactly the bastion of sunshine. Okay, is that on? You hear me? All right, I'm pretty loud anyway, so I don't think that's going to be an issue. I met Stephanie over here, who has a great jersey on as well, the Packer jersey. Any other Packer jerseys out there? I didn't see any. No, all right. I see some old school Peyton Manning, Indianapolis Colts. I see some new school Peyton Manning over at the Broncos. Got a few of those on there, so we just follow Peyton wherever he goes. We're not loyal to a team, just to a player. I get it. I would follow Aaron Rodgers where I followed Brett Favre when he went to the Jets and to the Vikings until he came home to play at Green Bay. That was a little different. You guys ever see the jersey, Brett Favre jersey, where it's half purple and half green? Because we still love Brett Favre. Got some. Now I saw some Saints. I saw Notre Dame. I saw Purdue. What else we got out here? What do we got? What's this? Ohio State. Ohio State. Well, I would take Ohio State. I would take Ohio State over Alabama any day. So I live down in the lower Alabama. We call it the Panhandle of Florida, lower Alabama. Really. LA. I'm from LA. So I am all against Alabama, Auburn, and Florida State. So anybody else but them, I'm good with. So anyway, that's a little bit more than you probably wanted to know. We got a clicker again, Derek, right here. I'm good. Okay, so a couple things. We're talking about AIDET today, so it'd probably be a good idea to do my AIDET. That would be a good way to lead this thing off. So I've got to meet several of you. I didn't get a chance to say hi and shake everybody's hand, but I did get to acknowledge a lot of you. My lab folks are back there in the corner, right? Yes. The whole table is yours, Jan, right? Yes. All right. I'm clinical lab. That's my background. So I'll probably migrate that way as we go because that's where I feel comfortable, right? Where all our nurses at? Who's a nurse? You see all the nurses are all right here together. A couple of them over here at this table. All the radiology folks over here, right? Melissa and Rob, they wouldn't sit at the same table because apparently they're different classes of imaging, I guess, or something. First class is up in the front, and the second class just teasing. They were telling me they're trying to save 2 tables. That's why they wouldn't let Melissa sit at the same table. That's all right. So I live. Let me get to the. So there's my family. Good-looking guy in the middle with the glasses. You know who that is already. But my beautiful wife just behind my right shoulder. My daughters, my sons. Now the one son you can probably tell is a little bit darker than the rest of us, and that's because he's not actually my son. He's my nephew, and his name's Keenan. And he's lived with us long enough that I call him my son. He literally has lived in our house for several years. He's in the Air Force now. So the other ones kind of look alike, I guess, or look like me, or look like my wife, or whatever. But that's my terrific family. Just took this picture at Christmas time. Always nice to have the kids home for Christmas. And it's always nice when they leave again and get the house back to yourself again, right? So Steve, I haven't actually met you. Nice to meet you. I was thinking about the beard thing, because I can't grow a beard. This is as far as it gets. I've been out of the military for 4 years. It took me this long just to get that far. So I can't grow a beard. But I thought it was kind of interesting you were talking about the men who wanted to grow beards and couldn't. I was wondering about the women who were growing beards and couldn't. I wasn't sure if that was an issue or not. So I'm not afraid to have a little fun with you today, and we're going to have some good time. I get an extra 15 minutes because they got me up there a little earlier. So I got my Green Bay Packers shirt on, and the name on the back, you can see, if you've seen that, it says Nooner, right? Okay, so we get a little history. So my name is Mark Noon. That's pretty boring. Pretty boring name. I met this lady in Kentucky who, her first name was LaCosta. I thought that was kind of a cool name, LaCosta. And then when she told me her last name, I misheard her, and I thought her last name was La Vista. So I thought her name was LaCosta La Vista. And I thought, that was like the coolest name ever, right? And, yeah, Mark Noon, LaCosta La Vista. I was going to change my name to say a cool name. But Nooner was a nickname they gave me when I first got in the military. And I'll let you figure out what Nooner means. Some people think it's a verb, some think it's a noun. I'm just like, but that was my nickname all through my military years. So if you go to my Facebook page, you may see Nooner as some of those messages from some of my friends. But, anyway, so I live in a place called Destin, Florida. Anybody ever been there? Yeah. Yep. It looks literally just like this, because that's how the color of the sand on the beach. Okay, it isn't 1 degree outside, but it looks like what it looks like out here. The sand is beautiful white. People actually take pictures on the beaches in Destin near some of the sand dunes in their swimsuits with skis and ski poles, because it looks like you're at a ski hill. It's kind of neat. But I actually live, this is even better, I live in this little beach community near Destin called Niceville. That's the name of my town, Niceville, Florida. It doesn't get any better, does it? But I'll tell you, it does get a little bit better, because I live on a street called Sparkleberry Cove in Niceville, Florida. Right? So, I mean, just end right there and say I live in paradise, and that's it. Wow. Anyway, I'm also Irish. Any of you guys get your flu shots this year? This is an Irish flu shot. Any Irish people in here? A little Irish background? All right, yeah. A couple of those shots and you'll never feel the flu, I can guarantee it. This is my military world. This is how my family grew up. I did spend 20 and a half years in the Air Force. Clinical lab was my specialty, but in the last 5 years of my time in the Air Force, I coached AIDET, or back then we actually called it scripting. Remember, we kind of called it scripting instead of keywords. So I coached that in the Air Force. That was where I spent a lot of time. In fact, I spent more time there than I actually did in the lab my last few years, and that was a great opportunity I had. So when I retired from the Air Force, it was kind of a natural thing to say, hey, why don't I go work for the people that I've been stealing all the material from for the last few years, and work for the Studer Group. It's been just a fantastic 4 years, almost 4 years now that I've worked for the Studer Group. So what do? I'm a coach and I'm a national speaker. So I coach 9 hospitals right now. I've coached as many as 14. I'm kind of working my way out of the coaching world into the speaking world a little bit more. So doing LDIs, doing some of the different conferences and things is where I'll be spending the majority of my time from this point forward. But I have some cool places I coach. Like I coach an animal hospital. So we're the only one, we have 400 hospitals in the Studer Group partnership, and one of those is an animal hospital in Denver, Colorado. He called us a year and a half ago and said, we read this book called Hardwiring Excellence, and we'd like to have you guys come work with us. And oh, by the way, we work with animals instead of people. And we said, well, I guess we can do that, because, you know, people are people in the sense of employee engagement. Their big focus is employee engagement. Now, rounding, to you nurses, rounding on patients is the most fun in the world at an animal hospital. You don't get complaints. You get wagging tails, and you get licks on your face, and you know it's a lot of fun. So that's a unique thing that we get to. I just feel one of those privileged opportunities to be able to coach an animal hospital. A little bit different world when it comes to dealing with the clients. Some of you pet owners, you're not the easiest people to please all the time, but they are doing a great job there. So anyway. Mission of Studer Group. You guys have seen this many times, and I'm going to go through some slides you've seen 100 times. Why? Because it's always the foundation of what we want to coach. Oh, by the way, I didn't finish AIDET, did I? I did the introduce part. The duration of our time I have until 10:45, my first session today. So that, and if you need, I know the coffee is working its way through you, so if you need to use the restroom, you can just slip right out there and go use the restroom and come back, because I don't think our first break, right, we're still basically until 10:45. So I have till 10:45. The explanation of what we're going to do today is AIDET. But AIDET additional letter to it, which is AIDET Plus the Promise. And so, thank you for paying attention today. Thank you for what you do in healthcare. Thanks for, I know it's mandatory to be here, but thanks for being here. Appreciate it. So the mission of healthcare is to do what? Three things. Make Hancock Regional Hospital the very best place to work in the state of Indiana, in the United States, whatever that is. We want to make healthcare better. It doesn't matter. You know, we could go work with whatever hospital in Indianapolis, and we do. We work with hospitals in Indianapolis, and we work with here at Hancock. We probably work with other hospitals. I was up in Fort Wayne about a year ago doing LDI, working with some folks there. It doesn't matter. If your hospital's right next door to yours, we'll work with it because our goal is to make healthcare better. It's not to make Hancock Regional better necessarily as it is to make healthcare better. But we want to make it the very best place to work. We also want to make it a great place for physicians to practice medicine. Right, Mike? We want it to be the very best place for physicians to practice medicine. What does that mean? We've got to have processes in place. We've got to have the right things happening so that our physicians and our providers, nurse practitioners as well, right, Vicki? Our providers have the very best opportunity to take good care of our folks. And then the third thing is what? Patient care. Well, if we have a great place for our physicians and our providers to work, we have a great place for our employees to work, what's the automatic outcome? We can't have anything but a great place for patients to receive care. So it's a two-part, really, a two-part focus, with the third being the outcome, which is great patient care. And then the other is to be an intellectual resource, to have all the resources you need. Teresa, I have no idea what article that is. I even did a search while I was sitting there trying to figure out what article. There's so much on our website, I don't even know all of what's there. There's so much being added all the time. But those are the kind of resources we want to provide for organizations to make healthcare better, to make it the best place to work, to make it the best place to practice. Does that make sense? Your vision, how does that tie in? You want to be a caring community. I love the word kindness, so you can mention that. You know, it's not a word you hear very often. Kindness. Kind. That person was kind. I remember rounding on a patient one time in the hospital in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and the patient, I was doing the rounding, kind of coaching the nurse leadership on how to round on patients. And I said to this patient, I said, tell me about your staff, tell me about the nurse. And they said, Tanetta was the nurse's name, and they said, Tanetta's a terrific nurse, we love her. And I said, that's great. Don't we love to hear that? But that wasn't enough for me. I like to dig deep. So I said, what is it about Tanetta that makes her so wonderful? And the patient said, I don't know, she's just helpful. And I thought, okay, I want Tanetta to be helpful, that's a good answer, but that's not good enough for me. I want to know why, what it is. And the person thought for a little bit, and she said, you know, she's just kind. And I said, that's a word you don't hear very often, and I like that. So when you're rounding on your patients, when you're rounding on your staff, dig deep. Find out what it really is. We love to hear, oh, our staff are wonderful, and then we get HCAHPS results that are in the 70s, right? Wonderful doesn't equate to 100%. So what is it that they do, and then figure out how to model that and make it better. So that's why we talk about AIDET. We want to know they're using AIDET. We know AIDET is a tool to get there, but people may still think you're wonderful and you don't use AIDET. But AIDET's kind of that tactical thing to help us get a little bit deeper. I started tweeting not very long ago, so I threw this up there because I actually tweeted this touchdown HH, and then you went and changed it, Derek, changed it to whatever the other one, kickoff something. Anyway, so I tweeted this morning. So I'm on Twitter. I don't know much about it yet. Still learning. So I tweeted something this morning. I hope it came out okay. But I just want to let you know that if you want to follow me on Twitter, Marky News. I don't know what that means if you follow me. It means, I guess, if I say something, you might read it or do it. I can't keep up with all the stuff on there. I follow a few people on Twitter, and I try to search for their stuff. I can't find it, so I need some help. Anyway, so talk about purpose. So read it. There's a purpose to AIDET. I want to connect the why for you for a little bit before we get into kind of more of the AIDET with a promise and what that means. And then today we're going to also spend some time role-playing AIDET. You're going to role-play with each other, right? At your own table, even though, you know, I know the one radiology table doesn't so much like the other one, but they're going to AIDET together. and we're going to practice that just very simply, very foundational, very basic. And then when we split up this afternoon, the AIDET folks I think are going to be over here, wherever, and we're going to do some different scenarios with AIDET to get better at it. Because AIDET isn't always perfect. It doesn't always go in perfect order. We'll talk about that. But the purpose for AIDET, what is the purpose for that? How do we make a difference with AIDET? How do we encompass AIDET into worthwhile work? How does that happen? Because everything goes to that center part of having purpose. The flywheel's great. And you guys probably have taught the flywheel enough times to know that once we get that thing rolling, you know, we got passion and we add those prescriptives and we do those things, we get great results, it fuels our passion and keeps that wheel turning. But it's about the purpose of what we do. You know, I grew up in Upper Michigan, and we always heard about the big 3 car companies in Detroit, and Ford, Chrysler, GM. And I always think about purpose. I think about how I used to listen to my uncle who lived down in Pontiac, Michigan, talk about the assembly lines and how they would just punch in and punch out, and a lot of times there wasn't a lot of purpose to what they did other than they punched in, they screwed their little nut in on that wheel 47,000 times a day or whatever, and then they went home, and that was all they did. And I'm sure there were people who had purpose, and I'm sure they felt like there was worthwhile work. I think about what we do every day. When we're spending time with patients, when we're taking care of each other who are taking good care of patients, that's where I think purpose, worthwhile work, make a difference. And that's why we have those kind of stories like the ones you read in the letters from patients that say, this is why I do what I do. And where's my finance folks? Finance, right? John and you guys back there, Greg? So finance folks, you know, I always pick on them because guess what? You can do finance anywhere. You can go work at a bank, you can go work at another industry, you can do whatever and do a lot of the accounting and the things that they do. But when you think about those numbers represent patients' lives, we have purpose, a bigger purpose. So I'd say our world and our job is better than anybody else's. I don't necessarily say that, but sometimes I kind of think that it is. And I think it's pretty cool the things we get to do. So we do this a little bit different. So the motivation part, the self-motivation is really about courage. The prescriptives is really about the execution of what we know are the right things to do. Right, who works in surgery? Surgery, folks? Nobody in surgery? Nobody does surgery here? Oh, you're it, Brenda? That's it? No one?
No, Kim's over there.
Oh, okay, okay. Who's this, Kim? Kim? Yeah, so you guys do surgery. There's requirements you have in surgery, right? Like, is it giving certain medicines before surgery, right? There's requirements like that. Would you ever not do that? No. But yet we think it's okay to not do AIDET at certain times, or it's not to round on our patients at certain times, or it's not to do, right? We would never go without doing those medications, whatever is required before surgery. So when we talk about executing things, it's about doing it the right thing the right time. Now in the state of Texas, when you talk about execution, that's a whole different conversation. We're talking here, I don't know if Indiana has that. And then it's really about winning. So about the results is winning. We're doing the right things for the right reasons, and here's the outcome. Here's the outcome. And then of course it's all about that middle part, purpose, worthwhile work. And that's where we get to the why. So anytime you're going to instruct people on why we do on AIDET, don't start out with how to do AIDET, we start out with why do we do it. And we're just talking about AIDET today, and there's 100 other things we can be talking about. You know, why do we give those medications right before surgery? We're told to do them, and we do them because the checklist says, or Joint Commission says, or whoever says we have to do these. Why? Why is that important? And you know, we're all just like the 2-year-old kids that we've had in our house. What's the number one question a 2-year-old kid asks when you tell them to do something? Why? What's the number one question all of your employees ask when you tell them to do something? Why? They don't say it verbally all the time, because we're matured now, but we still think it. So, we need to answer that question right now. Seeing the evidence-based leadership framework, the model. We're really going to focus on today is leader development. Why is leader development so important? Somebody tell me why leader development is so important. Anybody? Nobody knows? Come on. I'll call out people by name. I learned a few names before. I'll call you people out. Who wants to tell me why leader development? Yes, what's your name?
My name is Melissa.
Melissa.
And leader development is important so that we can educate the people that we're leading and
Okay.
get the results that we're wanting to obtain.
Okay, why is that important for you to educate the people you work with?
It's important so that they have an understanding of what we're trying to accomplish, what the expectations are, how we're going to get there, and how we're going to get it done.
Okay, all right. Why else do we need leader development? You have to lead by example. Why do you have to lead by example? Okay, if you're not an example of that, it's difficult to get buy-in. Sure. You know what? Number one, and those are all absolutely valid reasons. You know why we really need leader development? I mean, for the most part? How many of you were really, really good at your job, and one day somebody came to you and said, hey, how would you like to be the manager? Anybody ever have that happen? Yeah, right? So lab folks, here's what, literally my life. I was an enlisted lab tech in the the Air Force, living in Hawaii, terrible place. Somebody has to defend the Pacific in case the Japanese rise up again, or whatever, I don't know. But anyway, so I was in Hawaii, I finished my degree, I was a lab tech, working the bench, E5, Staff Sergeant in the Air Force. Literally, July 29th, Friday, July 29th, 2000, I'm a lab tech. Monday, I got finished my degree, got my ceremony to get promoted. Monday, literally Monday, August 1st, year 2000, I took over as a lab director. Second lieutenant in the Air Force, lab director. What was my training to be a lab director? A weekend to think about it. Have you ever been there? Right? Tony, I just met you, right? So Tony, you're the manager right now, aren't you? Probably one day on a Friday, or what? It's always on Friday, I don't know why that is. It's like they give you the weekend to think about it, really, right? Tony, you're a great nurse, and we wanted you to be the nurse manager. So you go home, you talk it over with your family, and you say, do I really want to do this? And Monday morning you show up and say, yeah, I'll do this. And then they go, okay, here you go, boom, you're a nurse manager, and now what do you do? Oh, and now that you're part of the student group and you're rounding on people, guess what, Tony, you got to round on the 47 people that work for you, and you got to round on all your patients. That's the easy stuff. That stuff you probably already, but now you have to do a budget. Oh, and it's due next week, right? Because John said budget's due next week, right? Right? How do you do a budget? Did you ever do that before? No. I never did a budget as a lab. I spent the money as a lab tech. I never budgeted the money as a lab tech. That was my job, was to buy the supplies. I never had a budget for this. So we do leader development because we need the skills. We don't always possess those skills. Steve, when you became CEO, what did you do before that? What was your role? You were the VP in the same organization? A different one, right? So when you became a CEO, did you know everything about being a CEO? I'm sure he said he thought he knew everything, because that's what he used to say. No, he didn't know everything about being a CEO. He'd been in healthcare how many years at that point? 10, right? 10 years? So we all need skills to develop to be better at what we do, to do exactly the same things that you said, right? And then we're talking about the must-haves thing. Because when we get aligned goals, remember that, aligned goals, and we get aligned behaviors. Now, does that mean, Vicki, that you and Linda act exactly alike all the time? No. But similar behaviors, meaning we always use AIDET. Maybe we don't do the whole AIDET all the time, but we're doing AIDET. Maybe we don't always do it the same order or the same way, but we use the tool. We use the tactic. So when we think about aligned behaviors, it's not about being a bunch of robots that act exactly alike. It's about making it our own, and how do we translate that then to our patients or our customers. I heard this one the other day, I kind of like it. Autonomy does not create high performance. Autonomy does not create high performance. So Tony, you guys manage the medical practices, right? Your team, most of you guys, Sarah, you guys, right? Were you guys always owned by the hospital? Were they always owned? Because a lot of medical practices are being bought up by the hospitals now, right? Are becoming part of the hospital. So here's this, and Mike, maybe you can attest to that. I don't know if you ever worked in your own practice, but so here's doctor, family practice clinic that has their own autonomy, done everything their own way for however many years, right? All of a sudden they're bought by Hancock Regional, and all of a sudden we say, oh, well, now you have to follow Joint Commission rules, not like you used to. And oh, we do AIDET here, we round in our waiting room, we round in our staff, we round in our patient, blah, 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 blah. Now all of a sudden autonomy is like, wait a minute, that's not how we do things. Or accounting says this is the way you got to do things. Or where's our medical records folks? Where's medical records? Who does medical records? Nobody? You guys want medical records here? Back here. So, right? So now all of a sudden your clinics are having to use the same medical record the hospital is, and that's, you lose autonomy. But guess what? That's the only way to get high performance is to delete some autonomy. Now I still want medical practices to operate with what makes sense. But if they think, I don't have to do that because we're autonomous, we're never going to get to high performance. So when we talk about aligned behaviors, it's not about being the same, it's about being similar and getting to the next level. Does that make sense? All right, I go really fast, so slow me down, stop me if something doesn't make sense. Or get some water. By the way, I forgot to tell you folks in the front row, you ever been to SeaWorld? What do they call those first few rows of SeaWorld? I'm sorry, I sometimes, stuff comes out of my mouth. Fortunately for you, it's only water right now. My wife was pregnant with our second one. I can remember this so distinctly because she reminds me of it, at least weekly. That when she was in labor with Hannah, my oldest daughter, that, I wasn't in labor, so I could leave the room. So I did. I went and got a Mountain Dew and Snickers. And then I had to come back and help her breathe. Can you imagine your husband said, breathing with Snickers and Mountain Dew coming out? Yeah, that's how that is. You guys aren't safe, splash zone people. So we call vision without execution hallucination. We have these great grand ideas about how the organization is going to be, and then what do we fail to do? We fail to execute. Now, today is January 13th. How many of you are still in the vision stage, and how many are still in the execution phase for your New Year's resolution? Right? Don't we all have that? January 1st, we are all vision people. We look in the mirror, we read some article, we say, this is the year, we're going to do whatever. And if we don't execute, what does that become? Hallucination. That's a nice idea without any concrete effort. We live life on levels, but we arrive in stages. So understanding that as we go through things with AIDET even, and even going AIDET to the next level, I call maybe AIDET 2.0. For you IT folks, John, you're IT too, right? John does everything. He's like the comptroller, he's the IT guy. Pretty soon you'll be the CEO. I don't know. So when we go through these phases of change. So we live life on levels, but we arrive in stages. So we are going to go through these stages up and down all the time. Steve, when you became a CEO, you weren't at the top unconsciously skilled. He dropped way down. Maybe not quite to the bottom, that he doesn't know anything. He probably pretended that way for a little while, but he doesn't know it. But he got to that consciously unskilled. I'm not quite sure how to be a CEO, but I'll figure it out here. Right? So we all go through these phases. So it's okay to understand that as your team learns, and it has learned AIDET, and I saw that you're going to start doing hourly rounding as a regular thing coming up, you nurses. We're going to do a lot of other things over the course of the years. That we're going to all be up here thinking we're really doing well, and then all of a sudden we're going to drop because we learned something. Same thing happened with medical records. Same thing happened with, whatever happened in the organization. Everybody goes through this. Doesn't matter how smart you are. Doesn't matter how long you've been in healthcare. We're all going to go through these phases. We're all going to drop back down and go way back up to whatever it was. Monday I was unconsciously skilled as a lab tech, and Friday and Monday I was consciously unskilled as a lab director. Okay. Understanding that helps us get through it. So is this what we want? Now I was driving down I-70. I stayed over the Hampton Inn right off I-70. I was making my way over from the airport to the hotel last night. I saw this billboard. Have you guys seen this billboard on I-70? Now, marketing folks, right here. Right. Steve, did you approve for marketing and put that billboard out there? Right? Okay, it says it really wasn't on I-70 in case you were really thinking I was serious. But would we advertise this? Would we ever advertise this? We would never do that. What do our results say? What do our results say for the organization? Do they say usually? Some. We hope they're small. And I looked at your results yesterday. Deb sent it to me. Who's our OB manager? Who's OB? Do you see who the OB one? Oh, okay. So I saw like 200 or 300%, like a couple quarters in a row on HVAC. That's pretty impressive. Now, again, remember this. I know who's a med-surg? Who's med-surg? What's your name?
Tammy.
Tammy. So Tammy, med-surg is not an easy place to get big. I mean, that's the hardest place for nurses to get results, right? You can't compare to OB. If you got 100%, maybe you're not 100% there. That's okay. Compared to other OB places, that's still fantastic, 100%, because you can't get any better, right? So begin to start looking at those things from OB to OB and med-surg to med-surg and see what we got. We would never advertise this. We would advertise what your hospital says, expected extraordinary. That's how we advertise. That's where we want to be. That's our vision to be. And every week, every month, every year, we're going to get better and better and better and get closer and closer and closer. And how do we do that? We remove some autonomy and we get back to similar aligned behaviors. Which is why we're here today, to make sure we have it. All right. Now, here's the thing about the why when it comes to your organization. Even when it comes to just something as simple as AIDET. So what I'm helping you with today, or trying to get across to you, is how do we coach this to your team? Because you guys might believe it 100%, and that's great. You absolutely need to. In fact, the Journal of Medicine Quality last year put out a study that said XXX, these things all lead to higher patient satisfaction. Patient satisfaction leads to better quality outcomes. We know that. The research says if patients have better experiences, the quality of care is also better. But you know what the underlying problem was? It's management's belief that that data is true that hinders organization. So Mike, pick on the physicians. I don't know if there are physicians here, but I'll just pick on you because you're right here. Physicians are data-oriented people, aren't they? Until they don't agree with the data, right? If you're a Republican, you don't agree with the Democrats' data, and if you're a Democrat, you don't believe what the Republicans' data is, even though data is data. Data is unchangeable and right. But if leaders don't believe the data, they'll never move the organization. Even though we can put study after study out there. So the idea of that is for you to be able to, are you going to convince people and or persuade them? And I use this example. Anybody know who these two guys are? Any guesses on either one of them? Famous philosophers? Aristotle's the top left, right? And the other guy? Guesses? Galileo. So Aristotle, brilliant, brilliant man. I mean, we still have quotes from him, and however many hundreds and hundreds of years ago he was around. Aristotle said that if you drop two items of different sizes and different weights, the heavier one would fall faster than the lighter one. Okay? A little bit of history here for you, a little bit of physics. Not that I'm a physics guy. Where's my pharmacist? Where's pharmacy? Can I hear what your name, sir?
Tim.
Tim?
Yeah.
Tim's the pharmacist. He'll validate the physics on this, all right? So he said that. And so everybody in the world of science and philosophy and such taught Aristotle's philosophy. You drop two objects, different height, the heavier one would drop faster than hit the ground first. Galileo came by and said, no, that's not true. I believe that if you drop a heavy rock and a light rock of equal size, dimensions and all that, accounting for wind and all that, that they would hit at the exact same time. He climbed the Leaning Tower of Pisa, stood at the top of two items, dropped them both, and they fell and they hit the ground. And everybody was, wow, that's amazing. You're right. He convinced them that that was the truth when it came to physics. Guess what? It was tens, if not hundreds of years before the University of Pisa stopped teaching Aristotle's philosophy on how fast the rate of things will drop. Even though Galileo had convinced them, he hadn't done what? Had persuaded them. So there's a difference. We can have the data, show the data, and say, yep, that data is correct. It absolutely is true. And still not doing anything about it. So we've got to get there. As an organization, as leaders, how do we coach that? Not just present it. That's why today we're not just going to talk about AIDET, we're going to actually practice it a little bit and coach each other through it a little bit. Because giving that feedback is so very important. Make sense? You can say yes, or you can say no if you don't agree. It's okay. All right, so perceptions, impressions. In the first few minutes of meeting people, everyone forms an opinion. All of you formed an opinion about me as soon as I stood up here. Good, bad, or indifferent. I'm okay with that. Every time you walk in a room on a patient, every time you encounter a customer, because Greg, you said your materials, right? Right? You deal with patients a whole lot? Probably not. Probably see him in the hospital, talk to him here or there, but he's not in the room. He's not getting around for the nurses, right? But Greg's got a lot of customers here. In fact, probably all of you. So the first impression you have when Greg walks in the room or has an encounter with you is going to be your perception of who he is and what he does. So right or wrong, that impression or that perception is there. So the 5 fundamentals of AIDET, you know what they are, the AIDET. Acknowledge, introduce, duration, explanation, and thank you. Why are those things so important? Why are those the foundational or fundamental things? Because people want to know 3 things. They want to know who you are, they want to know are you good at what you do, and they want to know are you going to take good care of it. Very simple. Who you are and how good you are and what you do is really about the A and the I. Are you going to take good care of me is about letting them know about the duration of how long things are going to be and explaining things really, really well. And then thanking them. And maybe even thanking them with a little bit of a promise, which we'll talk about in a minute. So it's that element of the fundamentals with AIDET that make a difference. Now, AIDET can be used anywhere. Understand this. It's not a patient care only thing. So my daughter Hannah, the one I talked about that I was spitting Snickers while she was being born. She was waiting tables last summer as her summer job between college semesters. First time she ever waited tables. I taught her AIDET as a way to be a better server because she would introduce herself and she would acknowledge the people at the table. She would talk about the duration of how long long things were going to take. And she would continually talk about the duration if it changed. And every time she came back to the table, I told her, you need to use your name again. Remember, my name's Hannah if you need anything. Why is that good? Why is that good that she keeps reintroducing herself? What do you think? Build a relationship. Because if she did a really good job, if they come back to that restaurant, what are they going to ask for? Ask for Hannah. We were eating at this place in Destin. Maybe some of you have eaten there. It's called McGuire's Irish Pub. All right, that's where you get some really real Irish flu shots, definitely. So this place, McGuire's, is very, very popular in Pensacola and Destin area. And the server we had, this was literally just on Saturday night. Saturday before my girls went back to school. And this server's name was Stevie. She was phenomenal, probably one of the best I've ever had. She took good care of us. She introduced herself several times. She called my girls love and sweetheart and those kind of things that are very Southern. And guess what? I told her. I gave her a very good tip, and I told her, I said, you were one of the very best servers we've ever had. She said, well, just remember my name. I said, we will. We'll ask for you next time we go in here. Absolutely. Bob Murphy. You guys have heard Bob Murphy? Bob is a terrific guy. One of my mentors over the years. Bob's the guy I met when I was in the Air Force. He was working at Baptist Hospital, who's really the reason why I'm a student here today, because I just really learned a lot and gained a lot of respect for Bob. But Bob he's a flight nurse, he's a former CEO, he's a lawyer, so he's got lots of letters behind his name. But then it wasn't enough for him, he went and got his Master's of Divinity. So now he's a preacher. All right, so Russ, where's Russ? Where'd Russ go? Russ leave us? Oh, look at that, he just left us. Would he, if he was standing up here preaching, would he want us to leave? No, that's Anyway, so Bob's a preacher. He's a minister, right? So last summer, one of our coaches got married, and Bob got the opportunity to do the ceremony. And so what do you think Bob did when he stood up in front of the entire congregation to do the ceremony? He said, hi, my name is Bob Murphy, and I'm going to be leading the ceremony today, and I'll minister. And he talked about his credentials as a Master's of Divinity, a preacher. And then he talked about the duration of how long the ceremony was going to last. Because for the men in the audience, that's very important to know. He explained how the course of the ceremony was going to be, and then he thanked everybody for being there. Right? So AIDET can be used anywhere, at any time, for any reason. So don't just think patient care. So we got this little letter on the end called AIDETP, which is AIDET with a promise. Remember I said this? I said, patients only want to know three things. They want to know, are you good at who you are you good at what you do, and are you going to take care of it? So if I am encountering a patient, I say, so if I say, hey Rob, my name's Mark, I want to be your nurse manager today. Rob, our goal here is to take very good care of you. That's my promise to Rob, is I'm going to take very good care of him. That's my promise. So we do the P doesn't have to always be at the end. You see that. I did my introduction, and then I put the promise in there, and then I might talk about the duration and the explanation, whatever. Or article that Teresa and Derek sent me, and one of our senior leaders just sent to us yesterday, was about a doctor in Massachusetts who was not on board with AIDET. Everybody in the organization was doing AIDET and getting good results, and he was not. So he decided to try it one day. He decided to thank people. And not only did he thank them, but he would say, thank you for choosing this healthcare place. we're going to do the very best for you. That was his promise. And all of a sudden he began to see his results, which were in the 70s, go to the 80s, and then the magical 90%. So when patients want to know three things: who you are you good at what you do, do you care about them? That's where the promise comes in. So why do we use AIDET with patients? Why? Because it reduces anxiety. It's like Xanax, right? AIDET is Xanax. Think of it that way. It reduces the anxiety. If I know who you are, I feel connected to you already just knowing your name and who you are. It establishes trust by reducing anxiety. It improves compliance, because if I explain things really, really well, chances are you're going to do them because I explained them well. And I have trust. So my daughter, you ain't saying one, Hannah, I don't like you picking on her, but she's a volleyball player at Mercer University. She's had 3 concussions in 3 years playing volleyball. You'd think it's a non-contact sport. She's had 3 concussions. Last couple weeks, she's been had a lot of headaches. Like daily, chronic headache. Nothing serious, just a daily chronic headache. So I contacted a neurologist friend of mine, whom I trust, and said, hey, this is what's going on with her, what do you think? And he told me what I need to do, and guess what? I immediately called her and told her this is what she needs to do. Why? Because I have trust, and I'm going to be compliant because I have trust. I trust this man, what he says, because I know him, and I know who he is, I know his results, so I'm more compliant. Clear communication creates a safe environment. Stacy, is that important to have a safe environment? Right? No, I'm sorry, what's your name?
I'm
Lori. I don't know why I got Stacy's on. Somebody else named Stacy? No, did I make that one up? Threw that one out there? Okay, so Lori, sorry Lori. So Lori's a safety person, I know that, I just met her a while ago. Is safety important to the environment? Yeah. If we explain things to people, if we explain to a patient, this is why we need your side rails up, this is why we want to make sure we take you to the restroom so you don't fall, is that an important thing? So we don't want falls, do we? We don't, not just falls and injuries, we don't even want falls. So how do we create that? We have to explain to the patient the why of skating. By the way, this is the only environment I've ever been unsafe in an LDI, is I almost thought I was going to get kicked in the head with a football. Don't worry about it. Steve was over here, and I was like ready to duck on this side. So I was thinking he was kicking like the Minnesota Vikings, was going to go off to the left. You can say that when you're a Packer fan, see? I even one of my friends who's a Minnesota Viking fan, I posted on his Facebook somebody else's picture where this is the Minnesota Viking goalpost, and they were all leaning like this. And I hope there's no Viking fans. I hate to insult you, but you did beat us in that last game. All right, so AIDET builds customer loyalty. They're loyal to us. Loyal to us if we do that. And guess what? The WIFM, does anybody know what that means? WIFM? What's in it for me? How many of you are selfish people? I hope you all raise your hand, because there's always a little bit of us, just a little bit, that says, okay, I can do that, I understand the why, I'm going to do these things for these reasons, but what's in it for me? What do we tell our nurses for hourly round? We say, here's how we're going to manage your time. So maybe today you'll get a lunch because you manage your time better. That's what's in it for me. We know it takes good care of patients, but a little bit what's in it for me. What's in it for me is this. It makes life easier. If I explain things really well to a patient, they don't call me the next day for explanations. I don't spend 15 minutes on the phone trying to explain something a nurse could have done yesterday in 5 minutes, right? Or a nurse doesn't spend 15 minutes on the phone with a patient because the doctor didn't explain things well. My daughter went to the doctor yesterday, that same one with the headaches. I told her exactly what she needed to do before she left the doctor's office. Make sure you ask this, make sure you know about side effects, make sure they communicate about medications. Right, I went to the old HCAP thing. It's the bad thing when you're the child of a student group coach. What's supposed to get rounded on as a child? You're rounded on your children? Let me tell you. Because how many of you, this is totally sidebar, isn't it? How many of you have ever asked your children how things went today? What was the answer? Good, fine, okay. Ask them this, what was the best thing about your day today? Wow, you might even get an answer there. Maybe you won't. You will. I guarantee you will, at least the first time, then they figure it out. 78% of your patients want you to do what? Shake their hands. How many of you shake hands when you introduce yourself to people? And I ask that question a lot of places where I go because this statistic is probably going to go down because I see more and more people a little bit more concerned about infection control, so they're not shaking hands as much. And I don't know that's right or wrong. This is not a right or wrong conversation. It's just the fact that there's less and less people that want to do that. So, because it's like you wash your hands, then you shake their hands, then you got to wash your hands again. And people just want to do that. But that's the fact is people do want to be attention. People want to be addressed by their name. Are names important? Yeah. Those of you that were at What's Right in Healthcare last year, you heard a guy talk for 10 minutes about the importance of name. You guys remember that at all? Anybody who's at What's Right in Healthcare? You guys remember that? Remember that guy? He looked kind of like me? Yeah. Right? Right? So the value of your name is people like their name. They like when we use their name. So learn it and use it over and over. I don't mean over and over in conversation like you wear it out. But when you connect to people by their name, it says something about them. They like to be. Now, Rob, I assume your first name is Robert, right? So, but you don't go by Robert, you go by Robert. Some people in your first name, Robert, go by Bob, or Bobby, or whatever other variations there are, right? Steve, Stephen, right? Mark is just Mark. Don't worry. I'm going to go to hostility. People like that though. So remember those kind of things. Some tips, some helpful things for you as you're coaching. So work with AIDET to align. So in your department, what kind of keywords, what kind of things as part of AIDET make sense for your department that maybe don't make sense for others? So bring those words in there. Bring those keywords that are going to help you connect with people. This is not going to be the same. So if a nurse in the clinical practices is trying to connect the dots for a patient, or the nurses in med-surg are trying to connect for a patient, it's going to be different. That's okay. Again, remember, it's similar behavior, not the same. Similar behavior, not the same. So communication is a key opportunity in employee surveys as well. So not just patient surveys, but employee surveys. Key words. I'm going to close the door to protect your privacy. Or we say things like this. So where's pharmacy? So Tim, pharmacy, right? Lori, safety. So one of the things that our nurses do for safety is they have to scan the wristband. And then scan the medication in the computer, make sure they match, right? Why do we do that? Nurses, why do we do that?
Safety.
Yeah. Safety. Do the patients know we do that for safety? Why? Because we don't tell them. We don't get credit for it. It's like doing your homework and then going to school on Monday and leaving the homework at home, like all of our kids have done, and say to the teacher, well, I did it, I did the work, and the teacher says, I can't give you credit for it. Well, I did it. We do the right things, we don't get credit for it because we don't tie it together. So when we close the door and we say we're doing it for your privacy, when we scan your wristband, we're doing it for your safety. Patients connect those dots and they say, wow, this is a really safe environment. We want to put these, who's the ER? Where's the ER? Who's the ER? You guys are ER? Okay. So in the ER, we might want to be concerned about safety of the patient who might fall off the bed. So we put the safety guardrails up. I had a hospital, that was their focus for an entire month, was making sure side rails were up. To try to get everybody used to it. Why do we do that? Because we want to trap you in the bed. Right? That's what so we have something to strap you to when you get rambunctious. No, because it's for your safety. So we have to connect the dots for our staff, connect the dots for our patients. When we do that, we're going to have better outcomes. When we do that, life is going to be easier for us. Make sense? And EDS, who's EDS? What's your name, sir?
Robert.
Robert. So Robert, Rob, okay, we're good. Robert. So Robert, your housekeepers, I'm going to assume, sanitize everything when they clean a room. Yeah. Why do we do that? We tell the patient we sanitize for their safety, so that we don't spread infection. We sanitize the room and say, is there anything else you'd like me to clean? While I'm here, hey, can I clean some other stuff? Does everything look good to you? Asking patients that connects the dots for that. Using keywords. All right. Elements of AIDET are important in every interaction. So I'm going to dispel any thoughts you have about whether we should or should not use AIDET. And the word is yes. Every encounter you have with a patient, with a customer, you're going to use AIDET. Now what you're thinking in your head is, what's your name? Louisa? I've known Louisa for 15 years. Why do I need to use AIDET with her? Because she deserves my respect, for one. But there are elements of AIDET. I'm not going to go through my whole history. I've known her for 15 years. She knows my kids. She knows where I went to school. She knows everything about me. She knows more about me than I want because she talks to my wife. Whatever. Right? Or in a lot of my communities that I coach in, which are very rural, everybody's known everybody since they were born. You know what? So when I go in to do AIDET, I'm not going to go through the whole thing and tell Louisa about my family and how long I've been doing. She knows it. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to acknowledge her. It doesn't mean I'm not going to say, hey, it's Mark again. And she's like, yeah, I know. I've seen you here 15. That's okay. Because when we don't do that, we start to pick and choose when we use AIDET, we're not going to use it enough. So even though we see that patient 12 times a day, because we're going in there every hour, we're going to say, hey, it's Mark again. Or I go in and say, hey, Louisa, what's my name again? I want my name again. What's my name? See how we are, right? Variations of how to do that, but still doing it. Every interaction, every customer, all the time. And there's times when you may only use parts of AIDET. That's okay too. But think about it, the fact of, did I cover all the elements? It's like, anybody baseball fans? Like, who likes baseball? Not too many baseball, me neither. I'm not much of a big baseball. But one thing I know about baseball is this. You can hit a home run and still be called out. Did you know that? How does that happen? Tell me. Baseball people. You don't touch home plate or you don't touch any of the bases. You can go all the way around on this second base, touch home, and they can still tag me out, even though I hit a home run. AIDET is a way for you to touch all the bases to make sure you get credit for your home run. They don't have to be delivered in any specific order. Okay, I'm in the emergency room, right? I come to the desk, and I got to be seen, I'm bleeding, but I'm at the front desk for whatever reason, I didn't use an ambulance. So what's your name? Stephanie. So Stephanie's at the front. I say, Stephanie, how long is it going to be before I can see a doctor? I'm bleeding. And she says, wait a minute. My name's Stephanie, and I've been a nurse here for Meanwhile, I'm bleeding out on the floor. Does it make sense for her to start with A and I? No, it's like, right now. That's the answer. Duration is right now. We need to get you back because you're bleeding. So it's okay. But in the course of that, as I'm bringing it back and I'm getting me stabilized, whatever, I might say, oh, by the way, my name's Stephanie. Stephanie, right? We got a lot of Stephanie here. Is that the common name? Popular name? In our organization, we have 220 people, I think, now in Sugar Group. We have 8 ladies named Stephanie and 2 guys named Stephen. You have a good chance of being hired by the Sugar Group. Yeah. Okay. That's okay. It doesn't always go in perfect order. Sometimes duration is the #1 thing people want to know. Surgery. This is a friend of your surgery, right? Okay, so what's the #1 question people ask before they go to surgery? How long, right? So I might not start with how long, but I might go from, hi, my name is Brenda. I'm going to take very good care of you today. The length of time we're going to do whatever is blah, 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 blah. And then go back to, oh, by the way, I've been a nurse for however long. Why? Because the most important thing for the patient is the duration. That's okay. Remember, they're there. I would almost make it an alphabet soup of, as long as we cover the letters. So when you coach your staff, you coach the people that you work with, let them know, hey, cover all the letters, that makes sense, but don't go without using AIDET. That's a mandatory, that's a given. Makes sense? Okay. What else is on there? Oh. All right. Now, it's your turn. We're going to practice. Here's how we're going to practice. Very simple. Each of you have 4 to 5 people at your table. You're just going to pair up with one person. Don't get started yet. Don't shake your chairs. You're just going to pair up with the person next to you. Whether you know them, whether you don't know them, whatever that. And I want you just to do the very simple, basic AIDET as if you were meeting them as a patient for the first time. So those of you that are not in patient care directly, how would you encounter a patient and use AIDET in the hallway? For those of you that are in patient care directly, how would you encounter that patient directly? And I realize this is very elemental, and a lot of you probably have this down well, but I want you to run through that. Then, after you get done, so Louisa, you're going to do it with Sarah. So Sarah. So Louisa, and I don't know if that's what you're going to do. So Louisa does it with Sarah. At the end of the time, Sarah says, hey, Louisa, that was really good. I really like the way you did this. Here's one thing maybe you could do a little bit different. If there's something that's a coachable moment, then guess what? That's only going to take 1 minute. Then we're going to, 1 minute to do the AIDET, 1 minute for feedback, so 2 minutes total. Then we're going to switch roles. So Sarah's going to do her AIDET for Louisa, and Louisa's going to give her some feedback. Just very basic stuff. Because this afternoon we're going to go into some more coaching specifically for those folks. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? Very simple. So it's 2 minutes, then we're going to switch to 2 minutes, and then we're going to let you go to the bathroom for about 2 minutes. Okay? All right, so go ahead and do that. Okay, so again, hopefully if you need to run the restroom, that's fine, but we only got about 20 minutes left of this session, and everybody gets a chance to go to the restroom, so that's all right. So here's what I want to know. Is that hard? No. No. Was giving feedback hard? No. So tell me, somebody who thinks, who wants to brag on the person that they did AIDET with, on how well they gave feedback. Who wants to brag on somebody that did a great job giving feedback? And why? Okay, yes ma'am, what's your name?
My name is Jeannie.
Jeannie. Jeannie, do you work at the pharmacy too? Okay. They let you at the table and you're not pharmacy. Okay. Well, go ahead. By yourself. Okay, very good.
So Tim gave really great feedback. He listened to me and he reminded me that I had forgotten to promise. So I didn't have to promise it.
Okay.
Promise.
Very good. So how did he do that? How did he remind you of that?
He said, hey, did you want to add sauce?
Like, hey, did you want fries with them? So did that make you feel like you were inferior?
Oh yeah, I almost cried.
Yeah, so it's kind of a clever way, maybe, to say, hey, you might have forgot this part. This could be a good addition to your AIDET, right? All right, who else did a great job on feedback? Giving feedback. Nobody? You guys all stink? Nobody on feedback? I'm going to have one more. We can't go to the bathroom. So one more. One more good feedback. Feedback on feedback. Okay, I guess we need some remedial training on feedback. So who did a really cool AIDET where you said, wow, that was really neat the way they did that, wants to brag on that person? Lisa. Okay, so Sarah, what about it?
Sarah was very thorough. Our interaction dealt with a new patient.
Okay.
She was great at answering all the appropriate questions. I have a preference on position, I have a time preference, what my needs were. She did all of her work.
Okay.
And she offered, remember, I'm Sarah, so when you get off this
This is as if you're on the phone. I'm assuming, right? Yeah, good, good. Because the phone conversation, we don't always think AIDET, do we? We think, oh, we might introduce ourselves, we may not think about some of the other things. Like, you ever been put on hold and not told how long you're going to be put on hold? That's no fun, is it? No. Or yeah, I would hang up too, right? Or you call someplace and they don't even answer it as to who they are or what department you called, so you're not even sure if you're at the right place. So as coaches, we kind of always look for those kind of things. So when I get somebody on the phone, I'll say, and who is this? And what department did I call? And of course, in their mind, they're thinking, well, you called it, don't you know? Who else did a great job on AIDET? Wants to brag on somebody? Yes, Linda. Or, sorry, Vicky. There we go. One of those things. You guys hear Vicky?
Yeah.
So Linda made Vicky feel confident because she was lost in the hospital. So you did her. So what about the AIDET part that connected you to her? That you said that I followed her. Right. So think about the anxiety level. She hasn't even gotten to the lab yet, Mike, right? She doesn't even, she knows she's getting her blood drawn. She's already anxious because she can't get to the lab, and she's going to be late going back to work. So isn't that great that just by connecting, basically what Linda did is connect with her through AIDET, made her feel comfortable and say, I'm going to get you where you need to go. We're going to take good care of you. We'll get you back on time. Oh, by the way, we're going to put a needle in your arm too. Now we're raising anxiety. Right? Yeah, that's good. So AIDET is very easy to give feedback. And what I want to encourage you to do, when we talk about feedback here for a little bit, is we want to talk about what they did really, really well. We always want to start with that. Because here's what we do in feedback. We do this. We say, Stephanie, that was really good, but... No, we do, that was really good on this part, but... And we go right to the other side. What is Stephanie going to remember? The but. All right? So we have to be very careful. And we say, here, Stephanie, here's what you did really, really well. I really liked the way you did this. Sarah, I really liked the way you connected this and did this, right? Then we go, okay, now let's talk about a little feedback. So there's no timeout that says, now let's talk about some areas that maybe we could do a little bit better. Or maybe we could do this a little bit different. So when you think about coaching your team, it's about giving very positive feedback to start with. Because I just did these validations last week in Denver Health on nurse hourly rounding. Every single nurse that came out of the room, knowing they're going to get feedback, what do you think the first question they asked me? What did I miss? Not how did I do, what did I miss? It wasn't how did I do, thinking they're going to get a great response. It was what did I miss? And I said, no, wait a minute. Let me tell you what you did really, really well. That's not the mindset that most people are in. Why? Because we're in healthcare. Healthcare, we diagnose and we fix what's wrong. People don't come to the ER when they're feeling good. Hey, I'm here for my appointment. I just want to let you guys know I'm feeling really good today, so I can wait for a while. It's okay. Not going to happen. How many of you have open door policies with your staff? Why do we have open door policies? Anybody have a closed door policy? We have open door policies because we say, come talk to me about anything, and they rush to our office to tell us all the wonderful things their coworkers are doing. Saying, ask the employee what they think they did really, really well. Even before you tell them what you thought they did well, ask them, say, how did you do? How do you think you did? It's hard for people, nurses, I'm just going to pick on you guys, it's really hard for nurses, but hard for all of us to acknowledge that we do things really well. You know, I bet if I were to ask Sarah the things that you just said about her, she would say, oh, I did okay. Right? She would never go on, well, I was number one in the class. What are you talking about, right? Only doctors talk that way. All right. Let's say you're doing your competency validations, and we have competency validation sheets back there, so you can check things off and make sure people didn't miss stuff. Let's say they missed half the sheet. So your name, Leslie. So Leslie missed. Stephanie's doing her competency evaluation. She missed half the stuff on the sheet. She's gonna here you go. You got lots of homework. Make it all better. No, I'm not gonna do that. But pick one thing. Say, hey, Leslie. You know, introduction and managing yourself up, let's practice that this week. Let's just work on that. Nothing. I know you missed the thank you and the promise and the duration. Let's focus on just one, right? Because if I overwhelm Leslie and all of a sudden she thinks she has to fix everything by tomorrow, she's going to even mess up even worse. We did it. I did a validation on a guy, one of the nurses at Liver Health last week. I mean, he blanked on everything in hourly rounding. There's 8 behaviors for hourly rounding. He got 7 out of 8 wrong. All right? So, 1, he was nervous, but 2, he wasn't quite competent. And I don't mean competent, he wasn't, intelligent. So we said, here's the one thing. We're going to fix one thing that we felt. Ask if they want more practice, more help. Sometimes it's a skill, just like, right? Mark Noon, Lab Tech Friday, Lab Director Monday, no skills, doesn't know how to be a lab director. Some of your staff are going to be that way. They're not going to excel at this. One hospital I coach has an IT guy who is fantastic when he comes and fixes your computer, but he cannot walk down the hallway with his head up. He walks with his head down. He doesn't acknowledge anybody. He doesn't introduce himself to anybody. He has no skill, and he's so introverted. So with him, what are we going to do? Are we going to penalize him because he can't do AIDET? Are we going to fire him because he can't do AIDET? Or are we going to say, let's get you to walk with your head up and at least do a little head nod, right? His acknowledge, like my 19-year-old nephew who's in the picture, his acknowledge is, what's up, right? That's acknowledge. That's not acceptable in a professional environment, but that's an acknowledgement. There's no question. Summarize what their strengths and one thing they can focus on. And then improve your observation skills. You need to improve your skills as well. Practice, practice, practice. So we're going to do, there's several ways to validate AIDET. One is I go in the room and I validate, or I go in the whatever office and I validate that you're doing the right thing with the customer or with the patient. I just watch you and I check it all out. Another way is I hide outside the door and I just listen. Right? So Melissa goes in the room with the patient. I just stand outside the room and I listen and I check things out. She knows I'm there, it's okay. But it's maybe a little less nervous for her because I'm not in the room. Makes the patient feel comfortable as well. Those that round on patients, like our nurse leaders, we might ask patients things like, so Robin, you're my patient. I come in and I say, hey Robin, I'm the nurse manager here, my name's Mark. I want to ask you a few questions. You have a few minutes, is that okay? And she says yes. And I say, tell me about your nurse. And she says, my nurse's name is Vicki. I say, great. I say, tell me about how much you know about Vicki, or how Vicki introduced herself. And she might say, oh, Vicki told me she's a nurse practitioner, she's been a nurse practitioner for this many years, and she's got 3 kids, and blah, blah, blah. And that would be wonderful if she told me that much information. I'm probably not going to get that much. But I can get an idea that Vicki does a really good job of introducing her. If I go into Robin and she says, I don't know who my nurse is. Somebody keeps coming in, person keeps coming in, I don't know who they are. Then I have a problem with Vicki and I got to address it. Make sense? So we do it that way. We also review patient data. Because here's the results. Emergency department using AIDET. Started in the first quarter of 2009, running around 49, 50%. Nurses informing them about treatments, right? And went up to 80, 89 in a matter of 2 years using AIDET. Now, is that the only thing they did? I would say probably not. But it certainly was a contributing factor. Validation with patient rounding. Who's taking care of you today? What's your doctor's name? What's your nurse's name? Hide the whiteboard so they can't see it. The name hopefully is on there. What are we doing for you today? How much do you know about your plan of care today? Ask the patient that. IT, John. I believe in rounding on your patients when it comes to computers. Your IT folks should be rounding on the computers. And so you come and you fix, what's your name? Kristen, you come fix Kristen's computer today, or one of your folks do, I'd round on her tomorrow and say, hey, Kristen, tell me, who came and took care of you? They tell the name, and tell me, how did that go? What kind of things did they tell you need to do for your computer? See what she knows. One, you can find out how well your folks are instructing about computers. Now, does that have anything to do with patient care? Certainly, because if Kristen is not doing a good job, can't work with her computer very well, she's probably not going to take care of her patients very well. Because she's frustrated. She keeps punching her computer behind the desk there. And she wants to punch a patient because she's punching her computer. Let's take a little test. Now, you see AIDET, and then the P is the promise, and the M is the manage up. Now, that's not an additional, that's part of the I usually. I'm just throwing that in. I'm going to test you. I respect your time. Which letter might that be? D. If we can all do it together. There's 3 people answering. I see you. Okay. I enjoy helping you. I'll do the T, right? Okay. I'm accountable. Promise. I promise to take very good care of you. Now I put myself on notice. I better do what I said I'm going to do. Greg, if we promise supplies are going to be there in 2 weeks, they better be there in 2 weeks, right? You can't make up all this all the time. Well, it takes 2 days to get them, but he tells us 2 weeks, so he has to At least that's a trick us lab folks do. We do the lab test the same day. We tell people it's 10 days before the doctor gets to them because we know how long it takes Mike to get the results. Mike, are there other physicians in here? I'm sorry, you're a physician too, actually. No, what? I'm sorry, your name again? Jeannie. You said hospital. Hospice. Oh, there we go. Are there physicians? Other physicians? We got Vicky here, nurse practitioner. Any others? Okay. I just didn't want to make Mike the only one I pick on physicians. So you might not come back to the next time. I'm sure you are. All right. What else? I want you to be aware of the great team that's taking good care of you. What would that be?
M.
M? Part of the I, but M as well, right? How do we manage up our team? Give me an example. Good. We better hope they do, right? So what happens in this? So I was teaching AIDET to emergency physicians in West Virginia one time. I went into the studio maybe 6 months. I was still kind of new at some of the coaching stuff, and this physician said to me, I said, so how do you manage up? They had to send a patient for surgery. This is our mock scenario. Send a patient to surgery. I said, how do you manage up the surgeon? She says, I hate all surgeons. Probably not the best manage up. But at that point, I'm kind of new at some of this, and I'm thinking, okay, how do I address this one? I said, okay, is there nothing about this surgeon you can say positive? I said, how many appendectomies do you think they've done? She said, probably 1,000. I said, then tell the patient that. This doctor's done 1,000 appendectomies. Now, you don't have to tell the surgeon's going to be wonderful, they're going to hold your hand, they're going to be just lovey-dovey, because that's probably not going to happen. But we can say things that are absolutely true, even though, guess what, you might not like that other department or that person for whatever reason. It's okay. Because I realize we're human, all right? I know I'm a lab guy. I know what some of those nurses did to me over the years, how they treated us. We had a doctor who hated ancillary. When I was Air Force Base in McConnell Air Force Base in Kansas, we had a doctor. She flat out would tell you, she hated ancillaries. She thought we were incompetent people. She flat out would say that. Now, if it were life or death, I would absolutely go to her as a doctor because I thought she was the most competent example of a physician I've ever seen at that time. But I would not have said to her, hey, she's going to take really good care of you, you're going to love her. I'm truthful, okay? I'm truthful in the manage up, absolutely. What else? You have a right to know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. E, right? E, explain. I'm taking ownership to create a positive experience for you. E. All right, so there's your examples. I enjoy helping you, so thank you. I'm accountable as I, as well as it could be the P. So some of these are interchangeable. I get that. Just kind of fun for you. Just kind of think about how these letters might apply in the situation. All right, how are we doing on time? Pretty good. All right, now let's talk about some barriers. Are there barriers to doing AIDET? Give me an example of what your staff or some other, give me an example of what somebody other department staff would say about AIDET. Because you guys would never say that about your department. So we don't have time. Why don't we have time for that? Why would we not have time for AIDET? I was teaching at an Air Force base. As a student group coach, I was teaching at an Air Force base in Dover, Delaware. And one of the technicians said to me, I don't have time to do it. I said, it takes 12 seconds to do it. You don't have 12 seconds. No, because if I multiply that by how many patients I see a day, 7 times the bigger. He really thought this out pretty well, more than I had at the time. So I was a little shy on how would we not, why would time be a barrier to AIDET? Why? Yes.
I think it's just they think that it is like in that case when you said like the emergency department, because they think things have to do it in order.
Right. Right, so they think it takes this long when really all the elements I need is this, and or it could go in a different order, which makes sense. Or couldn't I be, so when you're stopping my bleeding, and you haven't introduced yourself, now we're getting me stabilized, eventually you're going to go, hey, I'm Stephanie, I'm going to take very good care of you. Right? Or you might even do that right away, even if I bleed. Not like stop, wait, I have to introduce myself, but here's how I would do that, absolutely. So time might be a barrier. What other barriers might there be? Here's an example. Melanie, she's an accounts receivable manager, Ozarks Medical Center in Missouri. She's been doing this job for 22 years. She's been a manager there. She had a patient come in irate, like one of those at the front desk, yelling, screaming about their bill. She came out, she said, "Hi, my name's Melanie. I am the accounts receivable manager. I've been here for 22 years and I think I can fix your problem." And the guy just kept yelling and yelling and yelling. "So what do you do then?" "I did my AIDET." She did it again. "My name's Melanie. I'm an accounts receivable manager, 22 years. I'm sure I can solve your problem." All of a sudden he stopped, he looked at her and he said, "Well, if you've been here that long, I bet you can." She took him back in her office, got their problem resolved. You know what the problem was? They'd been diagnosed with cancer. The bill wasn't the problem. It was the reason he had the bill. He didn't want the cancer. Well, by using AIDET, letting him know that she had been doing this a while, all of a sudden he went, "I think you can solve my problem." So think about the barriers, whether they're internal or external. That's an external barrier, somebody coming from the outside. Internal barriers might be time, might be the mindset that you have about whether this works or doesn't work, or whether it's important. And then determine, is it an excuse or is it a true barrier? If it's an excuse, we can coach through that. If it's a barrier, then maybe we need to remove the barrier. I use this as an example. Does that look pretty ominous? So I live in Destin, Florida. I told you that, right? This is a 12-foot mako shark caught 100 yards offshore in Destin, Florida. For those of you that might be vacationing there anytime soon. This was April of last year. I'll be honest with you. I have not been back in the water since. Is that an excuse or a barrier? Yes. Excuse or barrier? Why is it a barrier? Because what? My mindset. Okay. What's your name? Jenny. Okay. Jenny says it's my mindset might be a barrier. This is a barrier or an excuse? Well, he's gone, right? Is it a barrier or an excuse? Why is it an excuse? You said excuse. So who said that?
They're in there all the time.
What's the excuse? Why is it an excuse? Every day there are thousands of people in the water in Destin, Florida. If they're in the water, why can't I be in the water? As long as they're out further than I am and they're But in my mind, Jenny, it's a barrier. It really truly is a barrier to me to get back in the water because I think that's out there. And then I even did the research. So here's the research. Research, never been a mako attack. That's a new word. Shark attack, that's a tark. So you have a new word there. There's never been a mako shark attack against a human being on the Gulf Coast ever. Recorded history, however long, 100 years, where did that go? I don't want to be the first, but the data says there's never been an attack, yet Mark Noon still has the barrier in his mind because he doesn't believe the data so much, maybe, right? Excuse or barrier. So when we coach people, some of these barriers that you're going to come across are excuses, and we need to coach through the excuses. I do CrossFit a couple times a week when I'm at home. Now, you ever watch CrossFit? These guys are amazing guys, women, amazing athletes. I mean, I watch them, and I have some in my class, and some of them, a lot of them are female. And I don't let those females outdo me in the weights. I try not to. But for a while, I made excuses like, I'm almost 50 that time, right? They're only 20, I'm 40, I'm right, so there's 40, that's right. You know, I make those excuses in my mind until, and my coach, Grant, he's really, really good at this. He let me slide on that for a while. But in the last couple months, I noticed he doesn't let me slide anymore. He'd be like, "Mark, you know you need to add 10 more pounds to that." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I can only do that." He puts 10 more pounds on, and guess what I do? He removes the barrier, which for me it's a barrier. For him, to me, in his mind, it's an excuse. So that's where we have to decide. And if it truly is a barrier, then we need maybe a conference call or a conference time together to say, how do we get rid of the barrier? But that looks like a great white shark, doesn't it? What does this mean to our patients when we do these kind of things? Remember, this is about patient care, right? It's about a great place to work. It's about physicians practicing medicine really well, but it's really about patient outcome. Do we manage pain if we explain how to manage pain better? Or we just give them a pill and say you're going to be better? If we take time to explain how we manage your pain, they're going to understand that they're not going to be pain-free. Who's OB? Where's OB again? It's a priest, right? Do women come in there expecting they're going to be pain-free? Sometimes, right? They think you give me that shot, I'm a girl, I'm pain-free, right? This baby's going to come out, there's not going to be any problem, right? We can't, that's not true. You gotta have Snickers and M&M, or Snickers and Mountain Dew to go with it. No, there's a management of the pain. It's not gonna go away. Improves communication with the families if we take time to acknowledge the family while they're in the room. And then let them know what's going on. Oh, it's another thing. Fewer readmissions, would that be a good thing? John, would that be a good thing, fewer readmissions? Because we're not getting paid for those, are we? Absolutely. We're doing work for free, you guys know that? When you punch in next time and it's a readmit, you can just say, oh, I'm working for free today. Not that John's not going to pay you, but makes sense. Increased market share. Do you guys have other hospitals in this area? Maybe just a few in Indianapolis and around? Yeah. So here's what you can do differently today. Engage within the first 30 seconds. And I say probably even sooner than that. Every person you come across has got to be at least an acknowledgement, if not an introduction to the right time. Consistently acknowledge those family members. You might come in and here's the three sisters are in here with Robin. Robin's a patient. The three sisters are here. I'm talking to Robin. Every now and then I'm going to let the sisters in on the conversation. It's okay. They need to do that. Consistently update every patient all the time. Questions for me? I think I had an extra 15 minutes, huh? No questions? Derek? Oh, Terry said.
Question.
Yeah.
I've been trying to practice AIDET in an elevator. And do you have any sometimes it's really hard to
Yeah, post AIDET right there by the buttons, or right up by the numbers right there. For this looking up at it. Oh, yeah, you're doing it.
yeah, you have it in there.
Sure.
Try to take time.
Well, first of all, I look and see if they have a badge, because you should have a badge on if you look in the hospital. They don't have a badge, I assume they're a guest. I might say, hey, are you visiting a patient today? That's how I usually start out. Are you visiting a patient today? Yeah, I'm visiting. Oh, well, my name's Teresa. I'm the OB nurse manager here. Is there some, can I help you find your way? You know, I wouldn't go through the whole, hey, by the way, I've been a nurse here for X number of years. And, you know, if I'm walking them for a while, I might get to that depth of introduction. But in the elevator, are you here to see a patient? No? Oh, what are you here for? Oh, okay, you're here as a vendor, whatever. I'll take you to Greg, whatever, you know, whatever. You know, make it your own. But I certainly would, if you have a badge on, this is Mark Noon, if I were CEO, you have a badge on and you're in an elevator, you better be talking to whoever's there, who's staff or not. I mean, that would be my standard of behavior if I were CEO. Now, maybe you're probably thinking, oh, blood, he's not CEO. or you'd be going, I'll take my badge off and stick it in my pocket. I don't know. But yeah, I would, those to me are standards of behavior. That would be absolutely. We call it the 10-5 rule. You ever heard the 10-5 rule? In 10 feet, you should acknowledge people. Within 5 feet, you introduce yourself. Or you're in an elevator, I think you're within 5 feet. Unless it's a really, really big elevator. Or if you're really like me, I love to do these kind of things when it's a full elevator. Like the elevator, everybody's in it, and they're all facing the door. I walk in and I stand just like this. See how much eye contact you get? We have fun, you know? Probably the last time we went out be that crazy, but I like to do that. What other questions? Good one. What other AIDET questions do you have? Barriers, excuses, ideas? Nothing? All right, Derek, it's all yours. Thank you.